pretty certain, I mean, this is a testing times for that pluralist ethos. Over a period of 200 years or so, certainly, and maybe I am not a historian. I'm still new to these intellectual ideas. It's entirely possible that this ethos has been tested over and over again in the past in India, but in more recent times, this pluralist ethos has been challenged by the turning of these paths or ways of thinking, pursuing the good and the right. The major obstruction has come from turning these traditions of faith, if you want to call them, or philosophical perspectives into religions in the modern sense of the term. I mean, where people believe that they don't just follow the teachings of somebody and follow the example of that person, say Christ, but they form communities around them, and then they bound these communities, then they form institutional structures around them, and they invent creeds and dogmas, and on the basis of these so-called coherent intellectual ideals of these bounded communities, they begin to think of who belongs to this community and who doesn't belong. And so inclusions and exclusions become very important. And this is something which is so much a feature of modern religions and modern religious life. And the seeds of radical conflicts lie in the formation of these religious communities in this modern sense. If you combine this idea of religion with the ethnic nation, so turn it into religious nationalism, then it becomes a very combustible combination. And we are witnessing in India, in the last 150 years or so, we're witnessing something like this process taking greater and greater root, and creating not only friction but also conflicts, and sometimes violent conflicts. It happened during the partition of the subcontinent, and a lot of people with very similar views are seemingly in power now, or have just come to power, and we just have to wait and see whether this pluralist ethos that we have, I'm pretty confident that nobody can permanently damage this ethos. But I am a little concerned, well, more than a little concerned about it in the short run. I very much hope that people who have just come to power do not embark on a robust movement for homogenization of any kind, which will be very counterproductive, which can lead to violence, a polarization, and a huge instability, undermining of institutions and democratic institutions and so on. That is certainly one way in which one can go. A lot of people are worried about it, and a lot of people are concerned about it. On the other hand, there are some people who feel that both the constraints of day-to-day politics and the influence of this long-standing pluralist ethos can, maybe with a few glitches, will be able to moderate these people. There are signs of some moderation in the couple of things that have been said by the incumbent Prime Minister, but it's only time will tell. It's one can only hope that ultimately India's both India's pluralist ethos and the democratic traditions, which are pretty entrenched in India, and some institutions which introduce various checks and balances. All of these are not going to are going to be able to somehow channelize these forces to remain within reasonable limits, and over at the end of it, our ethos and our democratic institutions come out stronger with this experience rather than get more weak.